Hey, Team Tolerator, we are still on our summer break from new episodes of To All the Men I've Tolerated Before. So this week, I will be giving you one of our still comfy movie reviews with Julia Washington from Pop Culture Makes Me Jealous and Jelly Pop's Book Club. Still Comfy is where Julia and I were live once a week giving movie reviews about our favorite comfort movies from now, our youth, our teenage years, just whenever we felt comforted by a movie and then we felt like we should revisit it to make sure we could still feel comfortable about it. Enjoy this audio version of Still Comfy. If you would like to see the video version, I have linked the YouTube playlist for our Still Comfy videos in the show notes, and there is also our Patreon page linked in the show notes. Patreon members are getting new content throughout the summer, whether it be on our free tier or any of our paid tiers. Whether it be Team Tolerator check-ins, misogyny meltdown episodes, blog posts, or early access to episodes you might hear this fall that will be ad-free. Make sure to check out any of our Patreon tiers. They are all offering free trials. Have a great summer. I will see you this fall with all new episodes of To All the Men I've Tolerated Before.
Hello, everybody. It is Still Comfy Tuesday. I am one of two hosts, Julia Washington. I host Pop Culture Makes Me Jealous, where we analyze pop culture through the lens of race or gender, and sometimes both. And I am joined by...
Hi, everyone. My name is Natalie Katona. I'm the host of To All the Men I've Tolerated Before, your weekly look at everyday misogyny. And this week,
we're discussing Sleepless in Seattle. We're so good at this.
Jules, have you ever done improv? Because, like, the back and forth.
I told you before we went live that my brain is foggy.
I know.
I'm so sorry in advance. Okay, before we get into our chit chat, I want to give everyone a summary of our movie. It's going to be a great show. My brain is so here. After the death of his wife, Sam Baldwin moves to Seattle with his son, Jonah. When Jonah calls into a talk radio program to find a new wife for his father, Sam grudgingly gets on the line to discuss his feelings. Annie Reed, a reporter in Baltimore, hears Sam speak and falls for him, even though she's engaged. Unsure where it will lead, she writes Sam a letter asking him to meet her at the Empire State Building on Valentine's Day. Penelope, behave. This movie was released June 25th, 1993, and it stars Meg Ryan, Tom Hanks, Rosie O'Donnell, with Rita Wilson, Bill Pullman, Niles Kramer, whose name I forget the real name of, and Victor Garbo, and a lot of others. And now we're here.
People.
And
the
now
guy
we're
with
here.
the ears from Titanic.
The guy with the ears from Titanic?
Yeah, I know that actor specifically because his ears look like
Victor Garbo. You mean Victor Garbo?
I can't have... His ears aren't symmetrical. And that's how I know him. And they're also very big. So I just call him the guy with the ears.
That's so funny. Oh, man. Love that. Love that for him. Okay, Natalie, where would you like to begin? Because there is so... Here's how I should have opened the show. H&G.
H&G?
Hi and goodbye.
Hi and goodbye. Oh, with our little sweet baby girl, our little Gabby from Now and Then. That was so cute. Is this her first role?
No.
Okay.
Actually, I don't know. I think not, though. Go ahead.
She was very talented. And I guess she's always good. been
Yeah.
very talented, and it was so nice to revisit her and have like a friend in the
Oh yeah,
cast.
it's definitely not her first movie. I totally forgot. She's in Field of Dreams,
Oh yeah, Field of Dreams.
which came out in 1989.
And then who's the little boy? It's not a Jason or a James, is it? It's not the
Um,
guy that would one day be Max in Goof Troop.
no, I don't think he went on to do anything else, if memory serves. Watch, I'm gonna be wrong.
Oh, he was really good too.
Ross Malinger,
Mm,
and he doesn't have any acting credits beyond 2006. And it's, not a lot.
well,
He actually wasn't the original Jonah. They had a kid, and the mom was like overcoaching, and it got
oh,
to be too much for like everyone else. It was just like, it's not working. Like, she's like, whatever she's doing is not getting the product we need. So they fired him and hired this other kid who ended up being perfect.
perfect. He was the perfect kid.
Mm-hmm.
Is this Tom Hanks and Rita's origin story?
No.
Okay.
Just shooting down all your questions.
Because all this lore, I thought that
Because
this movie was more exciting than it was.
no, Chester Hanks was in fact on set during the filming of this movie, and so was Colin Hanks.
Oh, both of the boys?
Mm-hmm.
Stop it. Stop
Chester
it.
was too, apparently.
Oh. I don't have any place to put my own hand
Because of
because
Penelope.
yeah, because Penelope has decided that now would be the time that she would like to spend time with me.
Of course it is. Hey, we're going to take this opportunity to remind you all, because we are using a third-party streaming app. We don't know that you're here, so you got to comment in the comment section to let us know you're here to join in on the conversation. Also, if you're watching the playback, still comment. We get notifications that you want to chitty chat in the comments every time you leave a comment. So let's keep the conversation going even after the live ends.
That's right. Okay, well, then I'll do my actual note that has something to do with the movie.
Okay.
This has got to be the unsexiest that Bill Pullman has ever been.
Because of all the allergies and the
The
sneezing and the
allergies, the simping, the grandma's china, and like I get it, they're trying to make him not be sexy Bill Pullman, but I was like, out of everyone you cast the very sexy Bill Pullman.
But you know what though? See, I didn't mind him being this way because here's the thing. Here's what it does for me, and maybe I'm the only one. You have Tom Hanks, who's a mildly attractive dude, but he's the charismatic one. And then you have Bill Pullman, who is very attractive, but he's got a little bit of a nerd factor that, you find in actuaries. And that's what kind of makes it a brilliant pairing because it's not Meg Ryan running off to be with the sexiest man alive. It's Meg Ryan leaving one fella who is perfectly fine and good and loves her to pieces and cares for her and is, wonderful and lovely for another man who is wonderful and lovely. So it's not like she's escaping a horrible relationship. They don't give Bill Pullman anything like awful other than like his food allergies. Like he doesn't have some sort of like closet like grossness about him that we discover. He's like I was watching, I was like, I'd marry him. I'd marry him.
Oh, I
He's
love
so sweet.
Roger.
He's
I
so
love Bill
sweet.
Pullman. I like how you're just like, she just jumps from like one good guy to like another great relationship. And I'm like, we don't know that. They
Well, yeah,
meet at
because they meet at the end. Yeah.
they meet at the last 3 minutes of the movie and they just immediately start holding hands. And I was like, I've been dating people for months and haven't held their hand.
Well, here's why I feel like it's one great guy to another great guy because of the way he talks about his ex-wife, because of the way that he is with Jonah, because of the way that he is with his friends. Like he is attentive to Victoria in a way that a lot of men aren't attentive to their partners for
Mhm.
even 20 years in a relationship. So it's not like, it's not like he's a piece of trash.
But that also brings up my point that, the second September blog post for To All the Men I've Tolerated Before is about this idea that crushes are just a lack of information. And it
Mm.
wasn't just Meg Ryan who heard this kid on the radio, and then his very grumpy father got onto the radio and was charming and had some jokes. And it wasn't like Meg Ryan was like, oh, against all odds, I've decided that he is the object of my affection. No, every woman in America who listened to that radio program was sending him like nudes via the postmail office.
Except for Rosie O'Donnell, she wasn't.
Except for Rosie O'Donnell. I really do miss having Rosie O'Donnell in all movies.
Mm-hmm.
And when I looked up the cast to confirm that that was Bill Pullman,
Mm-hmm.
she's not even like one of the top actresses that they list on IMDb. So when she showed up, it was a complete surprise. And I was like, it's my friend Rosie.
You've never seen this movie before, right?
I've never seen this
Got
movie
it.
before.
Natalie, by the end of this hour, if you fucking ruin this movie for me, we're done. Sorry.
I didn't say anything to ruin this movie. I was just saying that,
I know. I was just giving you, I was very scared. I got scared and I got defensive and I'm very sorry.
I just thought that it was a coincidence.
Yeah. You know what? That's a good point though, because here's the thing. We all have crushes on celebrities. We all ship ourselves with celebrities, right? It's the same thing, except this is a normie.
Well, and my post is just all about how, because one of our mutual friends was like, the thing that's fun about crushes is that you don't know anything about them. And I was like, 100%. They are literally just someone that you project all of your hopes and dreams onto, and they can't disappoint you because they're a stranger.
Right.
So
that's why they say never meet your heroes too, right? Like, because you've built them up in your mind in a way. The thing is, though, is that she's built him up in her mind, but she's also doing research on him.
Oh, yeah. She's also stalking him. There's some light stalking.
So she's getting confirmation for the things she believes about him because of this research.
Yeah. Well, and it's just one of those things where it's like, so she's in this pretty I mean, her and Bill Pullman are living together. They're not just like engaged. They have a home together with his like sleep apnea machine and everything, or his humidifier or whatever it was they were putting mineral water into. Humidifier. And she's got a job. She's got Rosie O'Donnell. She has a pretty fulfilling and complete life. And then you just kind of get the itch. And this is what I feel like is the problem with dating apps is there's always that idea that you have the itch that you could just move on to something better. And Meg Ryan listened to 15 minutes of a radio program, looked at Bill Pullman and went, are you great? And I don't fault her because I believe that we should be asking ourselves every day, is our partner great? And if the answer is no, you should kick them out of your house.
Well, and she even has that scene where she goes to her brother and she's like, I'm crazy. Like, this is insane. Why am I drawn to this person? This makes no sense. I don't know who he is. He lives 3,000 miles away. Like, what is it? Because the underlying theme in the movie is that cosmic, is that fate, sort of like fate brings you together kind of shit.
Well, yeah, but it's kind of how, like, when I say that, like, I manifested a bunch of stuff, and then my friend Stephanie also reminds me that I, like, made friendship bracelets and business cards and got into everyone's face. So it's like, yeah, you manifested getting to meet Erika Ishii, but you also did all of this prep work to make sure that you were the girl that Erika Ishii would remember. So it's like that light stalking is just like, oh yeah, it's fate. I have no idea where any of us will be on Valentine's Day. And it's like, but you do.
Well, and that's her point. That's her point to her mom in the beginning when she's like, destiny is bullshit. It's because of, and then has an explanation. And same with her brother. She's like, your subconscious is or just whatever his phrase it, whatever his statement is about subconscious is being attracted to each other subconsciously, right? Like that's her defense the whole movie, but yet she is taking all the steps to get there.
And then it's like, and I love this about One Fine Day too, because One Fine Day also ends in the last 2 minutes with you being all like, oh, and now they're together. So, and you never get to see it. You just live this one fine day with George Clooney and is it Julia Roberts? Is that their
Michelle
first?
Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer. I was gonna say that's not their first one together.
Mm-mm.
Um, and then you're done. And it's like with Sleepless in Seattle, it's like, oh, she's gonna meet her crush, and he's gonna disappoint her because he's a real live man, and we're all human, so we all eventually disappoint the people that we projected all of our fantasies onto.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And how will they handle that? There is also an 8-year-old who is very sold on this idea of cosmic romance who has to be considered.
Right. Right. One of the things that I love about this movie, though, is that when Sam starts dating Victoria, he's also like including the kid.
Yeah.
So it's not like okay, it's very here's what I'm trying to say. It's very clear I'm a package deal. Like this is a packaged thing. You don't get just me. You have to take both of us. And then her willingness to step into that. And it got me thinking how often that it's easier for men to do that than it is for women. Like women don't get the same grace when they have children.
No, we literally just have to circle around them.
And it's endearing because he's a widower. So there's something a little bit even more like like there's a romanticism to that because he's a widower.
Well, and then think about how women will idolize a widower compared to like what men think about dating single mothers,
Mhm.
and how you have to like be, you know, if a guy's a single dad and it's because of divorce and not death, if it's a breakup situation, they get to like almost kind of like put it under the radar that they're a dad because because normally they don't have any sort of full custody with their kid.
Right.
But moms have to like literally be like, I am a person who has 2 children. Those children go to elementary school, and you have to set that up very early on because, as we know, men require a lot of attention
Right.
and they feel
Um,
entitled to
right.
it.
So one of the things that I love about this movie also, I'm going to switch gears a little bit. You and I both have watched Frasier. You and I both enjoy Frasier.
I mean, I was a child.
Yeah. Well, it holds up still. I mean,
Yeah.
to this day. So there's a scene where when Sam is talking to Dr. Marcia Fieldstone
Hmm.
and she says, "Go ahead, Sam. I'm listening." And that is literally what Frasier says every single time he takes a call. "Go ahead. I'm listening." And I thought that was hilarious because Frasier premiered in 1993 after this movie, because I think it was the fall of 93.
Oh, man.
And they're
That
both in Seattle.
was Frasier as manipulative as that lady shrink? Because that lady shrink, I was like, I see what you're doing and I do not like it because we are on the radio.
You horrible woman. It's me. That's my Meg Ryan impression. No, I don't recall Frasier being that, at least not to his patients on the radio.
Yeah. There was a line, I didn't write it down fully because I only caught it. But
Say it. Maybe I know it by heart.
I watched that very heart-wrenching ABC television show a million tiny little
tiny million pieces or some shit like that.
a million tiny things.
That's
like,
it.
And there's a line that one of them says about Destiny, and it's probably Meg Ryan. It's someone doing a voiceover. And they say something along the lines of, oh, I didn't even write down the line. I just went, oh, I wonder if ABC named a million little things from a line in this movie, because they basically say that too. Like, it took a
It's
million
Tom
little
Hanks
steps.
talking to Dr. Marcia Fieldstone. Yeah.
Yeah. And radio psychology and psychology and the idea of fate really weaves itself into that show too. This very horrendously sad ABC show that I dedicated years of my life to, and then had a panic attack while cooking dinner and just paced my home. The finale was rough. Everyone, don't, like, if you can't do it, don't do it.
Dang.
The series finale, a rough one. I have a note about Victoria.
Okay, let's do it.
And it takes us back to our review of Return to Me, where I guess in the 90s, the way that men love to show us that they hate it if we're experiencing like over exuberant joy is to make the one reason to not fall in love with us be that we laugh obnoxiously. Like men just hate it when we laugh.
Do you think that that's what Tom Hanks is doing? Because he has the scene where he tells Jonah, he's like, I am very curious about this woman and what makes her tick, and that is why I'm dating her.
He says something about putting up with the laugh, and the kid
Okay.
brings up the laugh a couple of times when Rita and Ears come to visit. And every time she laughs, one or two or both of them are making the yikes
Okay,
face.
so here's my theory about that. And I'm probably going to get roasted because Nora Ephron is the queen. Everyone wants the career she had to some extent because she has lived on all these years after her death. I think Nora Ephron was one of those women who were like, I'm a guy's girl.
Oh, and she was too
Because
cool, and therefore she didn't laugh because only men are funny.
because because I think that when I think about what all the work of hers that I've read, and then also this book that
Hmm.
goes into the three major movies that she's done, which I want to bring up in a little bit. And then just sort of the way that she kind of talks about women, like she's like, yeah, women, woo, but then also like there's a little underlying tone of like, but I'm one of the cool
Yeah,
ones.
don't worry. You don't have to try so hard with me. I get
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
Do you feel like that carries over into her female characters?
I think it does because there's a lot of like with this movie, the way that they write Victoria, the way
Oh,
that because well, there's three writers on this film, and we can get into that in a moment. But Nora was the
because
last one to touch it.
she is kind of cool with the kid, and she is kind of cool with like, oh, don't worry, like whatever happens happens. If he hates me, we'll just spend more time on our own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I did clock that. I was like, man, men hate it when women
And the scene
exhibit
too,
joy.
yeah, and the scene too where Rita Wilson's character is like telling him about, oh my God, it's
Oh
like a
yeah.
fair to remember. And then they totally rip her up for that. I'm like, that feels very much like
Yeah, that was my next point. Like she's
that I
crying
that's the only scene in the movie I legitimately can't stand.
and she's talking about an affair to remember, which is another thing that like weaves its way throughout the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, and then they start talking about some stupid sports movie. And I was like, but that is how you guys feel about sports.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've all seen you watch the Super Bowl. That is how you feel.
Yeah.
Jonah thinks that you should marry the stranger from Baltimore because she likes the same pitcher you like or
Third
something.
baseman.
Sure, a baseball player, a
Sorry.
man who touches baseballs.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's like, so you guys do feel like that all the time. And you guys do bark laugh and belly laugh and make jokes that are ill timed or laugh at stupid shit. And you guys do get really emotional about the things that you enjoy. It's just somehow manic and bad and a red flag when we do it. And it plays into our marginalized joy episode that'll
Yeah.
air later this fall.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I lean into the whole like, I think there's something about Nora that maybe has an underlying tone, not ever present, but it kind of does seep in. And so is it because she's getting notes from the studio about characters, or is it because it lies within her?
Right. And it just feels really lazy because it's like, okay, Victoria's great. She has her own job.
Mm-hmm.
She
She's successful.
she's successful. She's kind of hot. She's willing to put up with this kid. What's the one thing we can do to make her so horrifically unattractive that of
Mm-hmm.
course Tom Hanks will look at Meg Ryan at an airport and immediately forget his girlfriend? Oh, we'll give her an obnoxious laugh. It's the reason why Janice,
Janice from Friends.
yeah, was a joke through 15 years of Friends.
Mm-hmm.
Justice for Janice. She was nice. She
And
loved Chandler. She
big
put up with
heart.
all of their bullshit.
Yep. So the book that I mentioned that I held up, I'll Have What She's Having, is a really good book. And she gets into the history of all three of the films. When Harry Met Sally, You've Got Mail, and Sleepless in Seattle. I said those out of order, but that's okay. And she really gets into like the behind the scenes stuff. Hold on, where are we? So by the time it gets into Nora Ephron's hands, there's been two writers. The first guy whose story it is originally, his name is like something like Jeff Archer or something like that. Jeff Arch, I was close.
Mm.
And he wrote a short story that he then turned this into the screenplay. And I guess before anybody got their hands on it, it was like more sad than anything else. And then the second guy, whose name I forget, he, because they're all listed on IMDb, came in and added a little bit more comedy, and then Nora came in and did all of the refining and making it really like what we have today. And I just thought that was so interesting. I just thought that was really interesting.
I wonder.
Sorry, go ahead.
I wonder how it would feel to have it be like really just like a tragic man's tale of being a widower, because we don't really have that.
No, and I'm so curious. I mean, like we have to Jillian on her 37th birthday, but it's not the same. It's not really the same. But it's what's interesting to me. Like I would love to read a first draft or whatever the draft is that, you know, Jeff Arch sent out to try and sell, because I'm so curious about like how much of it, because Nora Ephron gets all the credit for this movie, all the credit.
Yeah, she does.
And it's probably funny because of her. But I'm so curious to know how much she did infuse into the original story.
No.
I'm dying to know. I don't know why
Inquiring mind. Well, maybe they're auctioning the original script for the writer's strike.
Well, we all know I don't have money to buy that shit. But one of the notes that I made was this movie has like boomer energy that's actually enjoyable. Like there's a nostalgia factor to it because you have the references to An Affair to Remember. So it brings us back to a time that felt more innocent and free. It wasn't, but it feels like it was. And then you do have like the current setting, which is 1993. Mostly the characters are lovable, and there's something about watching it that also feels like a very old film, because when they are on the set film shooting the last scene on the observation deck of the Empire State Building, you have that background music that is very much reminiscent and very much present in movies from the 40s and 50s and 60s, with it crescendoing to the point where they like come together and then they walk away into the sunset elevator happily ever after. And it's just got all this like heart and nostalgia that makes you feel really good at the end of it, and like you just watched a really good movie.
Yeah, it is a very sweet film, and it does give you a lot of old film vibes. It just needed a music number. One of them just needed to break out in song. Even Big has a music number. He plays Hot Cross Buns or something on that giant piano.
That's not Efron's style. You know that she built that, right? The observation deck. Like somebody reached out to her and was like, "Hey Nora, how did you film on, you know, in the Empire State Building observation deck? Like, how did you do that?" And she's like, "We built a set."
We built it. They don't just let you do that.
Well, and because I guess the way that it is, it would have been hard to get any of the angles that they gave us.
Well, and plus the wind and the elements and the tourists and the pigeons.
Yeah.
I just feel like it would be insanely difficult to honestly film on the Empire State Building.
I agree. I have a very serious question.
Sure.
Do you remember how they're walking, Tom Hanks and
I know, and
Rob Reiner are walking down the street, and he's like, "Women want pecs and a cute butt." And he's like, "Is my butt cute?" I thought that scene was really cute.
That's so cute. It was so cute.
Yeah. So that's 1993. What do women want now? Like
what do I want now? Or Women want now.
Okay, or you could do twofold. I was thinking if this movie were to get remade, it's been 30 years,
Hmm.
1993. What would this movie look like now?
Oh, the movie would be Meg Ryan having a gay awakening. In my book, that's the only reason to redo it.
Nice.
I think it's Billy Eichner making gay Sleepless in Seattle. And that's all I want. What do women want now? To turn into dragons and eat our enemies. So I just finished When Women Were Dragons, about women who experienced either such insane rage or such insane pleasure that they had repressed for so long that when it exploded out of them, they shed their human skins and became dragons. And I was like, this is my future. When do I get to become a dragon? So that's what women want now, to become dragons, to eat their enemies, and to make the White House, to make Mitch McConnell feel scared.
I bet he already feels scared and he
Oh, yeah,
just
the
doesn't know
glitching.
it because of the glitching.
The glitching.
Because I was thinking about it when I was watching the movie. It was like one of the, I don't I think marriage is a scam. So
Yeah.
that's not, but I love when Rosie O'Donnell says, you don't want to be in love, you want to be in love in a movie. And I was like, yes, Rosie O'Donnell, I do
Yes,
want to be
Rosie
in love in a
O'Donnell.
movie. That is 100% accurate, because in a movie, it always works out. In a rom-com, it always works out and it's beautiful and the right music is set in the background and I don't have to worry about a goddamn thing because it is prescribed.
Well, and most real life love is Bill Pullman.
Right.
It's your
Which
weirdo boyfriend who says something odd to your mama. Are you
I keep asking you.
are you making me choose between doughy Tom Hanks or not sexy Bill
No,
Pullman?
because this is two different questions.
I
Because
date Rosie O'Donnell. She was great.
because this is the question you really want.
Yeah.
Bill Pullman is the answer, right?
Bill Pullman is always the answer. But
Yeah.
I love, there's nothing that makes me feel cozier and more nostalgic than 90s doughy Tom Hanks.
Yeah,
Like
that's true.
with his little baby face, before they
Mhm.
made him play castaways and men who were starving to death, and he could just have that like little 90s pudgy face.
Yeah, because the next year is Forrest Gump and he's so skinny in that
Yeah.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll never be covering Forrest Gump because I hate it.
Well, I just don't even know how, it's not even a comfort movie. Like if
Oh,
it's
I
on
hate it.
yeah. I will say though that I do, like I said earlier, I do really appreciate that this movie is like, you have normal-ish attractive looking people. Like nowadays when you watch rom-coms, everyone's fucking stunning. Like everyone's in fit shape, everyone's hair is perfect, their makeup is perfect, everything is just like beautifully curated. And then you look at rom-coms from the 90s and everyone looks like you could have been their friend. Like Tom Hanks and or Sam Baldwin and Walter are realistic men that you would
Yeah.
run into at the grocery store, versus what we have now in rom-coms, which is like the most chiseled looking dude with the most fit looking woman, and you're just like, this is so far into fantasy that
Yeah.
it's not always fun.
Um, you know what makes this movie a little bit different than the normal plug and chug that is a rom-com, or
Mhm.
honestly real life dating between heterosexual couples?
Right.
It's Meg Ryan. And I'm not saying that women don't like fantasize about something better or think about something steamier or whatever when they're in their
Mhm.
relationships, but Meg Ryan decides to fantasize about something better and then act on it. And very rarely do we see women in film doing that. It's always men who are really bored of us.
Mhm.
And then in walks the woman they're meant to be with.
Right. Right. And what's great about Meg Ryan is that she has conflict about it. She's
Hmm.
feeling very like, what is going on? I am content with Walter. He's a wonderful man. He treats me well. What am I doing? Oops, I'm now in Seattle.
Yeah. Pullman is so classy about it. Like,
Mhm.
he's just like,
I love
"Okay."
you, but let's set that aside for a moment. Like, sir,
Yeah.
that was such a beautiful moment for him.
It's a very sweet movie, and I wasn't prepared because I haven't watched a 90s Tom Hanks, movie in a while, mostly because my favorite one is Big, and now that one's weird. Can't watch Big anymore, it's weird. Um, but I do love 90s Tom Hanks, like, I love A League of Their Own Tom Hanks, and I
Yeah.
love Splash Tom Hanks.
Okay, but I love that the year before Tom Hanks and Bill Pullman were in a movie together.
I know.
It's almost like, why didn't you give us more movies with Bill Pullman and Tom Hanks?
Where's our rom-com about Bill Pullman and Tom Hanks falling in love and being friends with my other rom-com where Dave Bautista and Jason Momoa are in love?
Right? And then the next year in 1994, Bill Pullman stars in While You Were Sleeping, which is like, like
Another really weird 90s rom-com that I'm in love with. I
yes,
love When You Were Sleeping.
yes. And I love his character in that movie. Like, so
And
good.
I'm still very attracted to the man who was in a coma and When
Yeah.
You Were Sleeping.
Yeah.
Oh, what's it? Usually I'm way better about his name because I'm so attracted to him. He
Oh my God.
was
It's
in
just,
Grace and Frankie
yeah, he's in Center Stage.
and Center Stage, my favorite ballerina movie.
Why
My
is his
favorite.
name escaping me?
Humphrey.
No. Nope. Nope. Hold on.
He's my favorite.
Peter Gallagher.
Peter Gallagher. I have the hots for Peter Gallagher, even when he's like the young 60 something on Grace and Frankie. I'm like, Peter Gallagher still
He's
has it.
he's
The
aged beautifully.
the only time I didn't have the hots for Peter Gallagher was when he was in that singing show that I loved. Zoe's Extraordinary
Oh yeah.
Playlist.
Yeah.
And um and it was because he was like
He was just
gonna
sitting in a
die.
wheelchair. Yeah.
Yeah, but when
His
he would
character,
like when she would have like song
her
moments with
imaginations.
him, I
Mhm.
was too busy crying to
Yeah.
be attracted. And I was like, why are we doing this to Peter Gallagher? He's like John Patrick Stewart. Patrick Stewart
Mm.
every year. I'm like, Patrick Stewart, what did you drink to make sure that you never change?
Well, there's a theory that white men who aren't racist age well. They're given the
Oh,
grace of agelessness.
okay. All
But
right. Good job, Hugh Jackman.
I don't know if Patrick Gallagher, I don't know
Peter
anything about his
Gallagher,
Peter
Patrick Stewart.
Gallagher. Just combine that. They had a
That's-
baby.
Yeah.
I don't know any
Um,
details about his personal life, but
it like because I was ready to like be bored,
mhm.
because I
With
believe that
Sleepless in
romance is
Seattle?
yeah, because I
Yeah.
believe that romance is dead. So I'm like, Jules is gonna make me watch a rom com, and it's not a rom com that I already have a lot of feelings towards, like 10 Things I Hate About You, or How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, or
Or
Never
Return
Been
to Me.
Kissed, or any of it.
Mhm.
Like, I go, it's just a rom-com from the 90s, which I will say that the rom-coms of the 90s are a different caliber all in themselves.
Completely, completely.
Because they do lean more towards quaint and
Mhm,
sweet and
mhm.
believability.
Yeah.
Even with like the weird, like, so you heard his name on the radio and now you're in love with him because of some light stalking. Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, like One Fine Day, when when you were sleeping, Splash, even with a mermaid, I believe it.
Yeah.
And now we just have these like really over the top, like formulaic rom-coms where it's like, well, these two pretty people ran into one another in a room and now there will be
Well, and
hijinks.
well, and that's it, right? Like, there's something about rom-coms today that don't really feel like they have that sort of whimsy that the 90s had, because Well, Bros kind of had it though. Like Bros,
I
I feel
love
like really
Bros.
captured it really, really well. And like when a current rom-com has that feeling where it can be in the caliber of, you know, When Harry Met Sally or While You Were Sleeping, 10 Things I Hate About You, you know, it's like, you know, the writer probably had an affection for those films and actually knows how to like work within the genre in that way. Because there are a lot of people who try, like, there's a lot of rom-coms out there that it's like, well, you tried. You really did try. I watched one over the weekend called what was it called? Love at First Sight or something like that. And it was based on a book. And it was
Was it the
actually,
airplane one? Is it the one
yeah,
it has the girl from
White Lotus.
White Lotus season
Yeah,
2? She's
hate Lucy,
sure.
Hail Lucy.
She
I
has a
don't know what
name.
her. Yeah, she's a
Um
little cutie.
I want to watch it. It's the one that I saw a preview for and I was like, I hate romance movies, but I'm gonna watch it.
And I feel like it's like a. It doesn't give me the nostalgia the way that like When Harry Met Her, like the way Sleepless in Seattle does, because that's what we're talking about today. But it definitely had those elements where you're just like, this feels more like having that whimsy about it that these 90s rom-coms have. And I'm not saying like While You Were Sleeping is whimsical like directly, but there is some underlying current that makes you feel like, well, I really truly believe that this could happen in real
That
life.
was fun. Do you know do you
And
know
maybe I'm the only one because I just want to live in a buttoned up rom-com, but
but do you know what rom-com I think is really cute and not believable at all, and yet they made me believe it?
tell me.
Marry Me with J-Lo and Owen Wilson. I love that movie. That movie is going to end up one of my comfort movies. I love the soundtrack.
Yeah, the soundtrack's really good.
I love that J-Lo's back in rom-coms. I love that we're getting this renaissance where all of my favorite ladies are back in their rom-coms in
Yeah.
their like 50s. I'm like,
But that's what I'm
oh,
saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, Marry Me has all of the elements that make you sort of feel warm, fuzzy, nostalgic. And even though it probably wouldn't happen in real life, you believe that it could happen in real life.
mm-hmm. I
That's
mean, that kid could never get on a plane by himself anymore.
no. Can we talk about all the things that just can't happen anymore in
Well,
films because of how drastically our culture has changed?
well, number one, like that's frightening to think that in the 90s, I at any point could have just put myself on a plane at 8 years old.
Well, they lied and said he was 12 because
They
12
did
you
say he
could
was
be an
12.
unaccompanied minor, which I
Mm-hmm.
think still to this day at 12 you can be an unaccompanied minor. I don't know. I've
Um,
never been one, so
because as you know, I hate Home Alone because of the whole
yeah,
concept that they got all the way to France and realized that they
that Kevin
like,
was gone.
yeah. And I was like, oh my God, this is bringing up all of my abandonment shit and the I'm not important enough for you to even realize I wasn't on the plane shit.
Yeah.
I hate movies where the whole gig is that you left your kid somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
Be more responsible. But yeah,
Some white people shit,
that's some
honestly.
white people shit. Uh the kid getting on the plane because number one, travel agents like are it's not like really a thing anymore.
I still have a travel
I know
agent.
people still have travel agents, but like it's not like the
Not in the way that
first.
it was
Yeah.
in 1993 for sure. Yeah.
And hey, falling in love with someone via the radio.
Also true.
We don't have a lot of call-in shows anymore either on the
On the
radio.
radio, no. Mm-mm.
We really don't have like a lot of call-in shows. Like I feel like there were call-in television shows too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
TRL.
TRL.
You know what? The other thing, so I have this memory that I conjure up all the time. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like my throat is like having a moment. Because when Sam and Jonah take Veronica to the airport and they're just
Victoria. What's her name?
Victoria.
Okay. I was like, we've
Why did
called
I
her.
call her Veronica?
You did. Like it was Riverdale. Like they were about to be a throuple.
When Sam and Jonah take Victoria to the airport and they're standing at the gate with her and just having this little chat. And then, the next gate opens and Annie walks out. Like, these are things that can't exist anymore. And one of the memories that I have that I love the most, when my grandma passed away in 1999, we had to fly to Ohio to go to the funeral. And it was a really stressful time because we knew it was coming. She hadn't been well, but also, like, it's really expensive to fly from a coast to the middle of the country. Like, no one
Right.
does it. So there's not a lot of flights. It's really expensive. So after all this stress and frustration, we finally get there. We're on the plane. I don't know what time of day it is. I couldn't tell you what day of the week. I couldn't tell you when it was. It was October of 1999. That's what I remember. And I'm sitting on the plane and I'm looking out the window and I see my uncle and my cousin standing there. And there was something so grounding and peaceful and comforting knowing that they were there waiting for us to receive us off the plane.
Aw.
And then when I think about all the times that I travel and it's stressful trying to find the person who has been charged with picking you up from the airport.
Yeah.
And it makes me nostalgic for the time when it used to feel good to be received. I mean, it still feels good once you get there, but there's all this there's
Oh,
this
yeah, because you're
added
not
layer of stress because you can't sit your car there. You have to loop around. There's cell phone lots. What if I pulled into the wrong area kind of shit? And it's just not, you have all this extra stress now. So when you finally relieve that tension because you get to hug your loved one,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like, you don't need that stress. Like, that stress is unnecessary. It's self-inflicted.
Oh, you mean the safety theater? The safety theater? They call it something else. They call TSA something, and it has theater in it.
Oh, that's funny.
But it's basically how it's all a scam, and nothing that they do is actually keeping us safe on planes.
I mean, I don't fly enough to make that kind of judgment call, but I do know, having flown recently, it was like, this is really fucking stressful. Where is my person who's supposed to pick me up?
Oh, it's horrendously. I in my adult life, I have only truly flown alone, unless I'm
Mhm.
going with someone on a business adventure.
Yeah.
And traveling alone, because there's like no sense of community at the airport. Like you can't watch anyone's bags because that's a
Mhm.
felony. Like
Right. You
you
can't leave your bags anywhere on accident because
right.
that's a
So you
felony.
you got to wrestle your suitcase into the bathroom stall with you and then wrestle it back out. No, flying is terrible. And I do remember being a kid and like picking people up from the airport and
Mhm.
that being fun.
Mhm.
Or taking one time, I think it was when we went to Disney World when I was in 4th grade. I think my dad got us a limo to take us to the
Oh,
airport
that's funny. I love
because we didn't
that.
have because there was no Uber, so you had to like
Right.
rent a car
Call a car.
anyways.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. So we'll move.
There's a scene where Rosie calls Meg and is like, "Now you've got me listening to this garbage. Turn on your radio." And
Turn
she goes downstairs, turns it on. Or no, that's not it. I do love that scene. But what I want to talk about is there's a scene, Bill Pullman's already out of town. Meg Ryan's grappling with her emotions. She walks downstairs. She's restless. She picks up an apple and starts peeling it. And she's peeling it, and the peel is coming off in one
Oh,
curl.
I missed that
So
detail.
then, several scenes later, not the next scene, several scenes later, Jonah has this dream
Nightmare.
that's a nightmare. Wakes him up, he's crying in his sleep, and he's like, the boat, I'm forgetting mom, like, tell me about her. And Tom Hanks says she could peel an apple and keep the peel in one curl, but they're far enough away from each other that it's not like we're showing you this and now we're telling you this. It's far
Mm-hmm.
enough away from each other to be like, here's something about Meg Ryan. Here's something, that same thing that Sam loved about his wife. They're
It's
meant to
cute.
be.
It's cute. I didn't catch it.
I've been watching this movie for 30 years.
I know. I know. It was my first time. It was my first time watching Sleepless in Seattle. It was very cute.
Do you think
Uh,
you'll watch it again?
I don't know. I don't really rewatch things. Also, I had to pay $4. No, I didn't. I had to watch it on Freevee. or no, Roku, and I
The
had to watch it
Roku.
with ads.
Oh, that sucks.
Um,
Commercials break up the
yeah.
vibe.
It is getting harder to find 90s movies on the streamers. Like, we're getting far enough away to where they've started to fall off.
Mm-hmm. This is why millennials buy DVDs.
Mm-hmm.
We don't trust the streamers.
We don't.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Like, if someone was like, I want to watch Sleepless in Seattle because it's cold and I'm cozy, and I'd be like, okay, turn on Sleepless in Seattle. Like, it's very easy to get me to rewatch something as long as it's not Logan. I don't want to rewatch Logan. That
Yeah,
was traumatizing.
we don't want you to do that.
Hereditary, though, would watch every day of my life.
I will never watch that movie.
I know. And it's a real shame because you're missing some grade A storytelling and acting by Miss
You
Toni
know what?
Collette.
I'll just read the script then.
Okay. Do you want me and our friends to just reenact the script to you?
No, I'll find it online to read it. If it's grade A storytelling, I want to know, but I also don't want to be scared.
I am kind of bummed that this isn't Tom and Rita's origin story because I was like, oh, look, they're so young.
Yeah,
Maybe
they
this is their origin story.
had one baby by then.
Are they
The one that everyone wishes would stop talking.
are they a product of like a we were sneaky on a set because we had other people in our lives kind of romance? Yeah. Okay. All
And
right, Rita and
that
Tom.
was earlier in the 80s. Not like early 80s, but like it happened in the 80s.
Why do you think Rita Hanks didn't have as big of a career as she could have had? Like, there are these women that I'm always I'm like, why were you never in a leading position?
That's a good question because I feel like she's in every Tom Hanks movie. Because Nora Ephron, when she took over this script, she was like, "I'm writing it, and I'm writing it for Tom and Meg. Like, that is a non-negotiable." I don't know if she said it was non-negotiable, but she basically was like, "That's who's in it. That's who I'm writing it for." And then when I think about when I was kind of looking at, because it says in the book, Colin and Chet were both on set, right? So it's like, let's look it up. And Rita is in a lot of Tom's movies. Tom puts his kids in movies, all like Colin's in a bunch of his movies when he was younger. And then a man called Otto. The book is called A Man Called Ove. He put his youngest one in it. So like, I don't know, maybe Tom was like, I love you, but stay at home with our children.
That feels like Scientology, Tom.
Or is it because she has a successful country music career?
Does she though?
I don't know.
I was today, like, I believe it was 2023 when someone said, you know, Rita Hanks has a country music career. And I'm like, when did that happen? Was she touring with Dolly? When? Someone tell me when.
Because she's really good in that scene where she's talking about An Affair to Remember.
It's her. Joan Cusack is one that I'm always like, why didn't Joan ever get one?
Yeah.
Why didn't she ever get her own movies? Juliette Lewis sometimes falls into that category for me where it's like
Juliette Lewis was huge in the 80s and early 90s.
And then it just stops. And I think Juliette Lewis actually legitimately focused on her rock career. I don't know anything about Rita's country career. That's her business.
Rita Wilson literally has like a movie every year, sometimes multiple movies since the 90s.
Is she a lead?
No.
Because that's what I'm talking about.
No, she is not a lead.
It's these women that you see all the time and you're like, where's your leading movie? Like, I was so happy when Circle of Friends, which is a book that my mom loved. So I got to watch that movie very, very young. And I thought that everyone had sex on a towel because one of them is losing their virginity and she puts down a towel. And I was like, that's odd. Is that what we're supposed to do? So anyways, so after that movie made it so Minnie Driver was in all of the movies and she was leading movies, I was like, this is my favorite. Marissa Tomei, whenever Marissa Tomei is the headliner of a movie, I'm so excited. But I also, but I look at them and I'm like, you could have been Julia Roberts. you could have been Sandra Bullock. Like
I wonder.
there's not that much differentiating your talents.
Well, and I wonder then if it's deeper than that and what the Hollywood stories are behind it. Because, as we learned with everything when it came out about Miramax's owner, and him like intentionally stunting people's careers because they wouldn't do things.
Right. So I didn't know if we knew that about Rita or really Meg. Like Meg Ryan, they wouldn't even call her back for that airplane movie, right? She's the airplane movie lady.
Airplane movie lady?
I want to say Con Air because I love Con Air, but it's Top Gun.
Oh yeah, yeah, they killed her off. Tom Cruise's character makes a comment about how when his mom died, we had to blah 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 blah, and I was just like, you could have brought her back.
You could have brought her back. Everyone wants to see because I don't. Meg Ryan did Meg Ryan was Meg Ryan married to Antonio Banderas or was that Melanie Griffith?
That's Melanie Griffith. Meg Ryan was married to Dennis Quaid, and their son Jack has a acting career. He's on the show Boys. I don't know if Boys is still on.
Is that the superhero one? I don't watch it. I don't like it.
But they're like bad superheroes.
Yeah, I don't like it. I feel like Boys is just a way for male writers to play out their like gross misogynistic fantasies and be like, it's satire. We're making a statement. And that's my piece on that.
Yeah.
But so did Meg Ryan ever end up doing something weird with her face? Because I know that's why Melanie Griffith's career ended. Because we couldn't handle that we pushed her into plastic surgery.
Yeah. And I don't know if it was fillers or actual plastic surgery, but there was a period of time where she was making like tabloid headlines with like Meg Ryan's face. And you're just like, stop it.
Stop it.
But she has a movie coming out soon that everyone's kind of losing it for. She's doing it with David Duchovny.
Oh, I've seen the promo
later.
I've seen the promo for that movie, and I was like, "What? David Duchovny and Meg Ryan?" I think I saw the preview when I went to Bottoms.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Along with the Napoleon.
Because Courtney Cox was like, I have to stop doing fillers. Like, I was so mad when you guys said it all looked bad, and then I saw my face on the screen. I was like, and stopped doing it, or something to that effect. So I don't know what the situation is, but yeah, women are bullied. Beautiful women are bullied into altering their faces, and then everyone hates the way it looks.
So mad.
Yeah.
Remember when Jennifer Grey fixed her nose because everyone was talking about her nose in Dirty Dancing, and then no one would hire her because they're like, they know you as the nose. Meanwhile, ears, Victor, whatever, he's just allowed to be on Titanic.
I wonder too how much of it coincides with like the natural like conversation of like, well, one of us needs to be more present for child children.
Yeah.
And like how maybe it was like a coinciding with like, oh, parts aren't coming in as often. Because that's the thing that you hear all the time. Like roles for women over 40 are non-existent.
At all.
And so in the early 90s, she's not in her 40s. In the late 90s, early 2000s, she's in her 40s.
Yeah.
So I would love a tell-all.
Oh, if we don't think that, I'm going to be like using all of the money in my bank account to be like, I'm seeing that David Duchovny movie. Number one, we all know I love David Duchovny. We all know that I overlook all of David Duchovny's flaws, and I still hold the torch.
Yeah.
Because he's got flaws. I believe that Californication is just his real life. That's my conspiracy theory.
I actually agree with you on that.
Yeah. I believe that's just
because when he couldn't make it work with Téa Leoni, I was like, what?
What? Not Téa Leoni?
It's Téa Leoni. She's like a gem.
Okay. I'm really sad that we'll never see Hugh Grant in a romantic role again because he chose to be an Oompa Loompa in the Wonka movie. So that's done.
That's
You
gotta
did it,
work.
Hugh. You wanted to make highbrow art and you put yourself in an Oompa Loompa role, and now you'll never play opposite Julia Roberts again.
Well, and there's controversy about him playing the Oompa Loompa.
I know, and I don't know how I feel about it.
Okay, do you have any other points about this film?
I don't. It was just a pleasant movie in Seattle where I've never been, and Rosie O'Donnell was there.
I love Rosie.
I do love Rosie O'Donnell. It's always a pleasure when Rosie O'Donnell surprises me because I forget how prevalent she was because she is no longer prevalent and she
Yeah.
hasn't been for a long time.
Yeah.
When you sent us that clip of her interviewing Tom Cruise before Christmas or something, and she was calling him her boyfriend and doing the whole thing that she used to do on the Rosie O'Donnell show, it made me so sad because I was like, oh, this is how Rosie felt like she had to survive. And now Tom
I
Cruise is insane.
that episode of the Rosie O'Donnell show, I was so excited about. It's like Rosie's finally gonna get her wish is finally coming true. Oh my God. Whatever. Anyway. Okay, so I recommend that everyone reads this book. I'll Have What She's Having by Erin Carlson. There's a lot of really good, juicy, like tidbits in here. One of which is that during the filming of Sleepless in Seattle, Meg Ryan had a very serious stalker who managed to get his hands on call sheets and would show up. So she had to have a bodyguard during the filming of this movie, and yet still gave us a flawless performance.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, it's because she was doing some light stalking in the movie, so it was just like method acting. She did the full Elvis. Where's that kid? Is he ever going to be in anything again, or is he still Elvis?
I thought he had something coming up. I remember. Anyway, that's not the point. Okay. So I am going to tell you that I am still very comfy with this movie. I watched it twice in preparation
I
for
know you
our
did.
viewing, for our discussion. Oh, I love it. I love it so much. I want it to be my life. So sad. I have very little if that's what I want in life, right?
Right. I mean, I'm not going to tell you that, but you told yourself that.
Yeah,
So that's none of my
I'm
business.
I'm self-aware enough to know.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit, son. Are we really doing Armageddon next?
I thought we were doing Parent Trap next.
Okay, well, I need you to know that the Still Comfy like calendar invite that I go off of sometimes because it's easy to click says Armageddon. And
No, you know what happened?
what happened?
It's if you look at Sleepless in Seattle hyphen Julia, and then it says 926 hyphen, and then the next line it says Parent Trap. So I'm gonna fix that right now.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay. I was
Yeah.
wondering why we were taking next week off.
Yeah, we aren't. I'm resending it.
I didn't switch out Armageddon with something else. I'm real surprised about that because I'll pick like a weird one, like let's do Armageddon, and then I eventually go, I like this movie better. I did that with Army of Darkness.
You pick whatever, girl, pick whatever you want. You know, I'll watch it. And then if I hate it or if it stresses me out, I'm gonna tell you.
Well, anyways, next week, I was comfy with the movie. I just thought that it was funny that in the 90s we hated women if they laughed.
Yeah.
Like, because like let's think of all of the reasons that we hate like it's just like a pre-step because
Yeah.
now we hate women if they have opinions.
Mhm.
But in the 90s we hated women if they laughed at our opinions. Like
So we've evolved.
so we've evolved. Good for the men. They continue to hate us and keep it strong. And but yeah, I was like, oh my God, because it hit me. I was like, oh no, that was it. In every movie you
Mhm.
could ever watch, there's some woman who's not getting dates, and it's all because her laugh sucks. And she won't stop laughing just because it sucks. And that's what they hate. They don't hate her for her laugh. They hate that she refuses to quiet down for them so that they're
Mhm.
comfortable and they don't have to hear it.
Yeah.
Justice for Janice.
Justice for Janice. So next week, tell us what's coming up for you this week on To All the Men.
Sure. This week on To All the Men I've Tolerated Before, we are joined by Courtney. I'm not going to try to say her last name because I'm not looking at it, and it's more than two syllables. But she is going to walk us through her experience with family court and divorcing an abusive spouse, and what our family courts do to protect women and their children when it comes to abusive spouses. Spoiler alert, it's not
It's
much.
nothing.
It's not much. Then next week we'll be on the Still Comfy To All the Men I've Tolerated Before channel for The Parent Trap. So I put a
No, I
comment.
think it's
Are
me
we
again because
doubling up?
yeah, because remember we did a bunch on your channel last season,
Cool. We'll
and so
be
we're
here.
doubling. Yeah.
We'll be here doing The Parent Trap. I'll try to learn the did it. This was another soundtrack that I was obsessed with as a kid. The Parent Trap soundtrack fucking slaps.
Yeah.
Is for the way you look at me. Da, da, da,
And then
da,
a
da,
best
da.
friendship came out of that movie, which I love.
Whose best friendship came out of that movie?
Chessie and Meredith, best friends in IRL.
I know. They're so cute. I
Mhm.
would like it if they get married, but I don't know if they subscribe to that lifestyle. But if they did, I would be the flower girl.
I think we'd all be very pleased with
I,
their undying love and affection for each other.
as I said, the only reason why Sleepless in Seattle should ever be remade is because it's about, I'm trying to think, who's a hot, no, we hate all of the young women in movies now. Like, all I can think about is that poor girl who's getting raked over the coals because she was excited for being Snow White.
Oh, Rachel Ziegler. I
Yeah.
love her. I think she's so talented.
Yeah. So it's
I
Rachel
was going to say
Ziegler.
she's such a cutie, but I think she's like 26, so I probably
Yeah.
shouldn't say that about her because she's a woman.
So it's Sophie Turner straight off of Joe Jonas getting hit by a bus, and she's listening to the radio and she hears Rachel Ziegler, and she's like, that lady sounds like someone I should get to know. And then they fall in love. And that's
Yeah.
the new Sleepless in Seattle.
There it is.
There it is.
This week on Pop Culture Makes Me Jealous, we are premiering season 5. So season 5 is all Disney movies, and we're diving in. And our season premiere features Kelly Peralt of Pleasant Creative Co. She is the graphic designer behind the Jelly Pops logo.
There
And
it
she
is.
is designed our website, and she's very talented. She's just a very talented artist. And we talk about Tangled, the 2010 film starring Mandy Moore and Zachary Levi. We talk about the story of Rapunzel, and we just really get into it. It's a lot of fun. If you haven't signed up for our newsletter, do that because it will get delivered straight to your inbox.
I have a newsletter
Natalie
too.
has a newsletter too
It's
that I
very
signed up
new.
for today.
But if you sign up for it, you get the first promo code for our Halloween merch.
Yeah.
And the Halloween merch, like last year, I thought I did a really good job with the Halloween merch, but this year, I really think that I did an excellent job with the Halloween merch.
I agree. And I signed up for her newsletter today, so you all should too. And you can find us both on social media platforms. Natalie is on Instagram at Natalie K124 and TikTok. I'm on Instagram and TikTok as the Julia Washington. But I'm gonna tell you what, because who knows what Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg are up to besides trying to fight each other in a cage. Get on our newsletter lists because they might implode each other and we might lose contact when all of the platforms die because they chose to cage fight instead.
I don't know what I'm going to do if TikTok dies.
Oh, I guess TikTok is the one that'll be left standing. They don't own that one yet.
They don't own that one yet. I was really lazy with my plugs, so I was like, I don't know, we'll be here. I'm going to learn the Parent Trap.
Yeah, like my brain is still kind of cloudy. I really actually need to go eat because I think that's might be my problem. I didn't have enough protein at lunch, and I think that might be part of why I'm foggy.
Well,
but
everyone,
friends, there you go. Do it.
Well, everyone, keep up with your protein. Learn the Parent Trap handshake for next week and give the soundtrack a listen. I'm going to listen to the soundtrack. It's so fucking fun. And Fall in love with people that you only hear on the radio. Maybe it's me, but
Or
most
me.
important, or Jules, but it's only me if you're David Duchovny or you're a beautiful Sophie Turner of a woman.
Love that.
But most importantly, stay cozy, stay comfy.
Bye, friends.
Bye.